Good evening and welcome to the Haynes Total Healthcare Coaches Call-In Show presented by Southern Ohio Sports Authority, Ohio Health, and of course the Haynes Total Healthcare Center. How you doing tonight?
Doing all right. Got my grass cut today. Couldn't do it yesterday, obviously.
Yeah.
So got that taken care of and ready for another week.
Yep, and it sounds like a good thing. I did my grass after school on Friday, so I just had to run home. We had one game at the VA for that night.
Right.
And, yeah. Then we knew the rain was coming yesterday, and it was a great day overall. But just a reminder,
Were you able to get any games in? You got them
I was
all
going
in?
to talk about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
My name is John Bruce. That's Matt Hoops. We got Christian Spradlin back there running the whatever. I don't know. Like
The show?
Right now, he hasn't had to make any calls. I got us technically on the air, so he's going to do a lot more as we go on. He's a very appreciated member of our team, and we want to make sure that he's known to be appreciated. So right now, we are in the Chillicothe Sports Card studio. As always, it's been a really good year so far since we moved over here. We're inside SOSA the dugout. If you ever want to know about like what there is in the dugout, which obviously we have commercials and everything, watch tomorrow's SOSA Overtime podcast with me and Shane Combs. The first 40 minutes, you just hear a birthday party in there yesterday. I wasn't sure how it would be. Those kids were having a great time.
Yeah, I don't know how you couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, they got everything you want in there. Maybe, I don't know, there's a commercial of it, but maybe we should go live one time and walk in there during the show or something like that.
I mean,
we got who's coming in next week?
We got Piketon softball is coming in next week. So, but I think we got instructions going in at the time. So we'll see. We'll try to figure out something, and it's a really cool thing. We can go see how hard each one of us hit on the hit tracks. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to be last.
I don't know the last time I've hit a baseball.
Mine wasn't the best last time. Miss Judy got a exit velo of 28.9 a couple weeks ago on her birthday.
Miss Judy had a birthday party?
Yeah, I wanted to show it to her, and we stopped by, and I said, let's go see how you do. I wanted to show her the whole thing, and she goes, "You're not throwing that to me, are you?" I go, "No, Mom, we're gonna put it on the tee." And she made contact at all.
Did she wear a helmet?
No, I should have done the helmet. But just overall, it's been a really nice spring as far as weather goes, which I think it's going to be one of the things we're going to talk to the coaches about coming up. We got 7 outstanding coaches for tonight's show. As we said, next week we will have Piketon softball in here to start the episode, and then we may have some other guests in as well. They're off to a great start. Be excited to talk to them about everything there.
How close are we to wrapping up the entire league play for the SVC? That's got to be close,
2 weeks.
right?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yep.
Okay.
So 2 weeks left in the SVC. I believe this is the last week in the SOC because of the smaller divisions.
Less teams.
Yeah, the FAC has 2 more weeks after this week because they split theirs up and started a little later.
Yeah.
Just overall, it's the spring season just goes by like a flash.
It flies by. Yeah. So I'm assuming, in 2 weeks probably we'll know the softball seedings?
I'm not sure if it's 2 or 3 weeks on that. So the big thing coming up is, we'll have a couple more weeks of episodes, and we've got Mother's Day coming up, and we're going to try to figure out what we're going to do here because I think we're going to take Mother's Day off because if you don't take Mother's Day off for the people that are married, probably not going to go well the next day. So the people that aren't married probably need to take it off for your mother as well.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. I agree.
Yeah. So
good call on that.
Yeah, thank you. Sometimes I make wise decisions, not always. But as we kind of said, over at VA Memorial Stadium, we have games each and every night of the week. We are going to be live streaming 3 games this week. Those are presented by Ohio Health. Wednesday, we will have White Oak against Symmes Valley in baseball. Then Friday, we'll have a doubleheader, Minford against Manchester and Chillicothe against Peebles. Then the week after, we will have our first softball game live stream that we have ever done, which will be Chillicothe and Jackson out there at the VA before finishing with Waverly and McLean before we take a couple weeks off for college tournaments. So if you're in the Chillicothe area, you want to see some high-quality baseball, get out to VA Memorial Stadium because more than likely we're going to have games. We've had 52 games out there in the spring. There was one that was called early. It was called in the top of the 6th. Then we had that next game was canceled that night, and then we had 2 canceled on Saturday, and one was just kind of moved around for what the game was. We had some outstanding teams there, but when you've got the turf, when you plan things out pretty wisely, you check the weather apps, you're able to get a lot of stuff in.
Yeah, I think that it's huge, and I was kind of surprised that. I mean, it must have just had to have been a complete downpour not to be able to play out there, because turf and lights, those are 2 things that, usually allow you to continue to play. But if it's steady rain, lightning, or anything like that, then obviously you gotta shut it down. But always, like I said last week, just a great facility for our town to have, and be able to showcase not only high school, but you talked about the college tournaments that'll be there as well. So. They get a lot of use out of that place.
Yeah, and right now we'll have Shawnee State at the VA for the River States Conference tournament here in 2 weeks, and there's a possibility that Rio Grande will be there. There's a lot of local players that will be there from not just those 2 schools, but other schools that will come down there and play. We'll talk about that a little bit next week, because that whole thing will kind of clear up, and that way we can kind of talk about what you can go out and see out there. It's still a cheap price to go watch some really high quality baseball as well, and really excited to be able to get some softball in there in a week or so as well, because I think we're getting the fence in tomorrow, and then just kind of planning that whole thing out.
So that mound can be taken out, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it could.
Yeah, I may not be able to get in there that day to help take that out.
Is that a huge process to do that?
It's just heavy. Yeah. But it's just, so that's why a lot of times it's not taken out. But for softball, it will be, and I believe so at least. And should be a really fun next couple weeks there at the VA. $5 gets you in for each and every game. 6 and under gets in free. And then, for the most part, you can listen to some family-friendly music and hear me maybe mispronouncing just normal things. I rarely mispronounce names, but I sometimes mispronounce where things are at the stadium.
Do you ask for when the roster for them to give a like clarification on?
Usually I'll go through.
So there was no like
Hoops,
Enrique, Hosley.
Yes, yes. So it would be, I would say, Eric Hosley,
right?
Or I'd say, I just point to the name and they'll say it in that way. There was one name in the junior high today where the coach told me, and he was like, he's really like, he really is worried about the name being wrong. And so the coach came up and told me and made sure to get it right. And right before he came up to bat, the dad came up to like say, and I said it back to him. He goes, "Oh, perfect. All right." It's just,
of course,
we want to make sure it's right.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a short break. If you hang right with us, we'll have our first coach back after this short break. Hang right with us. You're watching the Haynes-Stowe Healthcare Coaches Call-In Show.
Have you experienced simply brilliant fiber internet? Yeah, that's Glow Fiber. Lightning fast internet that keeps up with your busy life. A reliable fiber-to-the-home network, whether you're working, learning, playing, or streaming. And best of all, Glow Fiber has real local support from real people who are happy to talk to you. And switch now for your first month free. Faster, more reliable fiber internet with real local support. Glow Fiber, simply brilliant.
At Chillicothe Comfort Heating and Air, your comfort is our priority year-round.
Whether it's blazing hot or freezing cold, we've got your back with fast, reliable service you can trust.
Locally owned, honest, and done right the first time.
We have financing options available for every budget, as well as 60 months, 0% interest.
Call us today and feel the difference that comfort makes.
Richer. Countless nights in the garage. 8 shiny new pistons. 1 very happy 16-year-old granddaughter. And 2 years since starting cancer treatment at Ohio Health.
And welcome back to the Haynes-Stoll Healthcare Coaches Call-In Show, presented by Southern Ohio Sports Authority, Ohio Health, and of course the Haynes-Stoll Healthcare Center. Now joining us on the Edward Jones Coaches Hotline is Coach Jamey Binkley from Logan Elm. How are you doing tonight, Coach?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
We appreciate you coming on with us on a Sunday night. How's the weather up in the Circleville area today?
It's been pretty good. A little cooler today. Cooler than it has been anyway. But yeah, everything's good up here. Forecast looks good for this week. Hopefully we can get all of our games in, and that's always a crapshoot here with this fine Ohio weather.
Oh, it's this year has been. I think we're getting a little
spoiled.
Spoiled, and kind of retribution for what last year was too. So, Coach, before we talk about your team, how much do you look at the weather when it comes to that, and how much extra work do you have to put in? Because with the softball being all dirt, how much extra work? How early do you need to get there if there's any rain?
Oh yeah. No, we definitely pay close attention to the forecast, at least a couple days out, because, we got to get there and get the fields prepared. If the game does get canceled, you got to pivot. You got to go to practice, which means it's indoors. So you got to make sure everything indoors is ready. And the same thing for your off days. You're watching it constantly. Because you could get a pop-up shower that would just wreck your practice plan. So you're scheduling practice for indoor and outdoor every day. Just to make sure that you're maximizing your time and maximizing your team's time together. Because our season is so short. It's a real sprint once you get into the season. Trying to get 27 games into 65 days or whatever it is. But yeah, we pay a lot of attention to it.
Yeah. And you mentioned, scheduling practice or planning practice for inside and outside. I think almost every coach would tell you they are ready to get outside and don't really want to go back inside when it happens. But then after you play, like you guys have played 17 games already, after a little bit, you do want to just have an off day, just have practice, because there's always something to work on. So it is very important to make sure you're not giving up those inside days, because I know there are times when I coached, it felt like we almost gave up some of those inside days and just go, hey, we're just going to go hit. Well, you can still get a lot of work done at the same time.
Yeah, you can. And yeah, we've played 17 games already. Actually, this past week was a really light week for us. We went on a spring break trip down to Florida and played 5 games in 6 days. And so we were a little ahead of the game. And so we took this last week as an opportunity, for some rest and to work on some of those things that, the first half or first 2/3 of the season, we had written down and because it's such a sprint, didn't have as much time to work on them, but we were able to do that this week and got some inter squad scrimmages in and stuff like that, got some live hitting and, able to rest a little bit. The kids, a lot of weeks you have, 4, 5, 6 games maybe. And the kids could use a little rest and rehab.
Yeah, I think that, obviously last week's weather was absolutely perfect. And, typically you would want to be playing every night of the week when it's like that. But I feel like the weather's been pretty much as good as we've had for a long time. So that was I think it's a great advantage. You took great advantage of that, Coach. You didn't have to play every night of the week because of makeups or whatever, but you were able to get some quality time as a team to practice. And that, like you just said, it doesn't happen very often.
No, it really doesn't. Like I said, with the Ohio weather and stuff, just being able to get outside as much as we have is huge. We were, I think every team that we scrimmage, we would talk to them. I remember talking to Coach Skaggs down there at Southeastern when we had our scrimmage, and he said, we haven't even been outside yet, or maybe they've been out once or twice. And we were in the same boat and we were a week away from playing our first contest. So, it's definitely a challenge in Ohio. So we went down on that Florida trip, to try to get away from some of that because we had so many reschedules the last couple of years. And hey, let's get out of here. Let's go down and playing in some warmer weather. And of course, it was 75 and sunny up here the whole time. But you can't plan for everything.
Well, and then when you get down to play those southern teams, it's typically they've been outside for longer, so they're even crisper than you are at that point. So it's a good challenge no matter what. So you guys 11-6 on the season. I know you guys play in a really good conference, Bloom and Liberty Union, and that's not even mentioning like what Circleville is as well. And can you just talk about what your team's been able to do so far this season and kind of who a couple of your big players have been?
Yeah. So 11-6 on the year, and I think like a lot of teams in our area, we're trying to find some consistency. We play well at times, sometimes we don't. That's kind of how softball and baseball go. We try to learn from things that we can do better, practice those, and move on. If you dwell on some of those things too long with softball and baseball, they'll just eat you alive. And the same thing goes for having success. If you get too cocky, softball will humble you in a hurry. That's kind of how it's designed. But we just want to be peaking and playing our best heading into the last 10 games or so of the season and into the tournament. Like you pointed out, our schedule is pretty unforgiving, and our league with the Mid-State League, Liberty Union, Bloom, Circleville. We don't get a night off in our league. This week coming up, we have Fairfield Union. They can score a ton of runs.
Well, I was to say they've got a D1 commit, so
they do. Yeah. So that's every night in our league, and if you don't come to play, any team in our league can beat you. But anybody can beat you if you're not at your best, and then we challenge ourselves in the non-conference as well. Like you pointed out the southern teams. We played a team from Tennessee down there, and I think we were playing our 6th game and they were on their 19th or 20th, so it's just a little bit different, but we challenge ourselves with our non-league, and then our league is just a meat grinder.
Yeah, and then you mentioned with the tough league every night, it has to be nice to have an arm in the circle that you can trust.
Yes. Yeah. Everything starts in the circle. If you can do well in the circle and behind the plate, you're going to have a chance to win every game. We have that. Sadie has a lot of experience, provides a real steady presence, and leadership in there. She's had a good start to the season at the plate as well. And we kind of go as she goes to a certain degree, but we've got a lot of familiar faces. We lost no one. We didn't have one senior on our team last year that won 20 games. And then we picked up a few pieces, from the younger grades too. But we talked to the girls, hey, we've got potential to make a run to win the league and make a nice tournament run. But, potential doesn't really mean anything. You got to go out and play. And with softball, anybody can beat anybody any night.
Yeah, Coach, you just mentioned that you picked up some younger girls. Can you talk a little bit about, because what was it, 2 years ago you guys made a run to the Final Four, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we went to the Final Four a couple of years ago, and we made it to the regional final last year. And 2 years ago when we went to the state tournament, we were really senior led. We had a lot of seniors, and then some of the girls that are seniors now were on that team and they played key roles, but now they're kind of in that leadership position. So, you think about, I'll just go down through our seniors. So Peyton Richendaler, if I had to pick one kid that had probably made the biggest jump from last year to this year, it would be Peyton. She's a 4-year starter. She's, multiple, all district kid, and she's a really good player, but she's having an outstanding year in center field and also at the plate. Riley Wolf's a senior. She only played 5 games last year. She played 5 games last year and led our team in home runs. So that can tell you what kind of pop she can add to the lineup. She injured her knee game 5 of the year last year, so it's really nice to have her back. And then, we have 5 seniors. So Hannah Gooley, returning star. She played shortstop last year. She's played some short, mostly second base this year, doing a really good job. And then we have Kimmy Petty. I think you guys cover Kimmy in some other sports. You know, she plays volleyball with Sadie and then real good basketball player. But she's such a great kid, and she's the kind of kid that you want to have on your team. And from an attitude, effort, and leadership perspective, you know, multi-sport athlete. She's probably one of the best, you know, all-around athletes in the school. You know, and schools our size, you want to have your best athletes, and you know, so we got Kimmy there, and those 5 seniors. You know, that group's won. I think I looked it up the other day. They've either won 68 or 67 games so far. You know, not counting obviously the end of this year. So they've had success. They know what it looks like, but it's going to be up to them to go get it.
Yeah, a lot of wins, a lot of leadership in that group, and seems like that's setting you guys up for maybe another big tournament run as long as you guys can find some really positive steps throughout the rest of that roster. So, Coach, we appreciate you taking some time with us here on Sunday night, and best of luck to you this week. I know it's going to be another tough week, as every week in the MSL is, and we hope to hear from you again soon.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Appreciate everything you guys do for the local sports.
Thank you, Coach. Have a good week.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, when you go to the Final Four and then you go to the Elite Eight, you know, sometimes those expectations are really high. Yeah. You know, we say the 11-6 record, but at the same time, when you go down south, that can really affect that record a lot.
Yeah, I thought you made a great point about, you know, how far ahead those teams are when teams from Ohio show up. You know, it's not a level playing field in terms of I'm not saying skill wise. I'm just saying that they're so much further advanced because they're outside year round. They can be outside year round.
Yeah, and whenever you're on game 19 versus game 6, you will have seen things that maybe you recall from the previous.
Or
year.
you're just in a rhythm. You're in a groove. You've had time to get there, and at 6 games sometimes isn't enough time.
Yeah, it can make a big time difference. Now joining us on the Edward Jones Coaches Hotline is Coach Derek Moore from Wheelersburg. How you doing tonight, Coach?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Oh, we're doing well.
Can't complain.
Always good to talk to you, Coach Moore, and you know it's been a pretty nice weather-wise. I was hoping to get to see you yesterday, but I know the weather had some different plans. So, how did you guys handle kind of the sprung up day off?
Yeah, it was kind of. I mean, we looked early in the week and saw the weather wasn't great, and kind of had an idea, but we were still hoping it's always good to head up to the VA and play, but also play against a big-time opponent. And when it got canceled, and we knew there's still plenty of things to work on, so we were at it bright and early yesterday morning. We got to work around 7:30 and had about an hour and a half practice to get ready for a busy week this week.
Well, I would think one of the really good things was they notified everyone so far ahead of time. It wasn't like you found out the morning of. So then,
for sure,
then you could make that schedule. So, I mean, your guys' league is unbelievable. Can you just kind of talk about what you guys have coming up this week in that really tough league?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, league is top to bottom, top notch, and this week it doesn't get any easier for us. Tomorrow we're on the road at Valley, and then Wednesday we host Minford, and those are the top 2 teams in the league right now. And then we are on the road Friday at West. And, I mean, you guys know playing on the road in any conference or anywhere is always tough. So we're going to have to be at our best.
Yeah, and then anytime you go on the west side is always going to be a tough hill to climb. And really, if you look at it's a 6-team league. If you look at West being in 6th right now, I think that's how you realize how tough that league is, because that's a really good program overall. And just overall, and how ready does that get your guys? I mean, overall, like, we'll talk a little bit more about your schedule, but how much does your league help get you guys prepared for the postseason?
Oh, 100%. I mean, kind of like our game Friday night against South Webster, I was telling the Daily Times after the game, I said, that's a tournament baseball game. I mean, it was 2-1, basically went to the last inning, and That is what will get us ready. You always want to win, but if you do lose, you hope you lose, and where you kind of do things right and you give yourself a chance and you don't have personal errors or mistakes and shoot yourselves in the foot. And if you play good in the league and go compete at night in and night out, you'll give yourself a chance to have a good tournament run.
Yeah, I think obviously the one good thing about that is we just talked a second ago about kind of getting in a rhythm. I think you can do that just by the types of games you play. When you're comfortable being uncomfortable, if that makes sense. You seem to be a little bit more relaxed. You know what to expect. And let's face it, baseball is a game of failure and handling adversity. And if you put yourself in a position to play, not only is your league schedule good, but obviously your non-league schedule is really good too. When it comes time for maybe a little bit more pressure in terms of one and done season of the tournament, your guys are comfortable in those situations, which that's the ultimate goal anyway, is to see if you can win a state championship.
For sure. Yeah, that's every year when I'm making the non-conference schedule, we always want to, we love going up to the VA for the First Pitch Classic. We love trying to be in the Prep Baseball Report Classic and different things like that because you'll play top-notch programs. And at the end of the day, as much as you want to win every game, if you can grow and kind of like you mentioned, handle being uncomfortable, because down the road in those tough, adverse situations, you'll find yourself being more able or capable to handle yourself under pressure and move forward and hopefully win baseball games. So we've definitely had our fair share of adversity so far this year, but I know just by the growth through the first 3 weeks or however long we played, that I've seen tons of growth through the ups and downs so far.
Well, and it's putting your team in situations, as you said, you're probably going to be uncomfortable. And then when you guys had some things happen in the off season where your pitching went from being what was going to be a big time strength to kind of an unknown, it feels like being thrown in the fire early can make or break you. And it feels like you guys have really steadied yourself. Can you talk about some of the adjustments your guys have made to that adversity?
Yeah, going into the year, right, when as I mentioned, making the schedule, we thought we'd have guys like Cooper Heimbach, who would have been a returner, who would have been kind of our ace or 1A, 1B with Ian Kahn. But as most people know, Cooper got an awesome opportunity where he enrolled early at Marshall, and now he's, I was up there last week for the spring game. He's the starting punter right now. So just an unreal opportunity for him. It stinks for us because we expected to have him, right. But then you move on. But then also, our ace that would have been this year, Ian Kahn, he hasn't got to play once this year. He's dealing with an elbow issue. He was a preseason All-State guy, and last year I believe he was second team All-State, and so not having him, so there's your kind of 1A, 1B aces that you don't have. And then you got guys like Brady Doss, who's our full-time catcher, but threw a ton of innings for us last year, and this year his arm just can't handle it to catch and pitch, so he hasn't pitched at all. So 3 huge returning guys that we haven't had a chance to have. It is what it is when it comes down to it, but we've had to really grow up quick, and you got to give guys like Branson Russell, who's a freshman, who we've kind of thrown into the A spot. He's had to grow up quick, and he's done a great job. And then Andrew Tabor, who is a senior for us, who didn't play last year due to injury, is back, and he's had to throw a ton of innings as well. And then just kind of guys behind the scenes that might not light up the stat sheet, but they've thrown big innings for us, and we'll have to throw big innings for us down the road.
Yeah, other places the season might just sink, but not at Wheelersburg. You guys, and I know from a coach's perspective, Coach, when things like that happen and you have to all of a sudden walk the walk that kind of you preach as next man up, and you're like, all right, we've got to really believe in this. And I think that, you've got athletes down there that are just waiting their turn, and sometimes your turn shows up before you may be ready or think that it will. So you always got to stay ready, and your program is what it is for a reason, and you develop all of those guys, and you're learning as you go, and still having some success. So I think it's just a credit to you and your program.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, these guys know. I mean, a lot of these guys have been around our program for a long time because, we're blessed enough where it starts down here in the Little League, and they do a great job of coming and supporting our guys and just having that love for baseball, and especially Pirate baseball. So the next man up mentality is huge. As much as we didn't want to use it this year because we knew we had a lot of returning pieces, but that's kind of our new motto. I mean, we've had to even call up some JV guys early on due to just some different things, and they've stepped up, and it's a lot of growing phases, but we're going to do it to the best of our ability.
Yeah, and one of the things when you're growing up in a place like Wheelersburg, you want the opportunity to be able to show yourself once you get to that varsity level, and it may come sooner rather than later, but it feels like you guys have kids that are mentally tough enough to where when that time comes, they're able to step up and make a difference.
For sure, and I think it's a testament to all our programs. I mean, whether it's Coach Woodward, Coach Estep of soccer, Coach Prater with basketball, I mean, that's kind of just who we are. I mean, you got to be mentally tough. You got to, everybody wants a piece of you. We've had a lot of success, and that's great. So people when they play, they're going to play their best. And so we got to be ready for the moment, and guys have done a great job kind of adjusting. Like I said, we've had kind of some ups and downs, but the schedule's been what it is, and we played some great opponents that we know that will prepare us for hopefully a chance to get back in this league title race and a chance to have a good postseason run.
Well, the good thing is you've got two of them coming up this week, so you get a chance to kind of control your ability to get back into the race.
Yep.
So, Coach, we appreciate you taking some time with us here on a Sunday night, and we wish you the best of luck throughout the week, and we hope to hear from you again here in a couple weeks.
Yep, sounds good. Appreciate it, guys.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Yeah, even at a school like that, when you're dealing with as much, when you're preparing a certain way pitching wise, when you lose that much pitching, it can take a while. And, but
I'm sure those guys are quality pitchers. Like I said earlier, like I just don't think that they probably envisioned themselves having to be the man so early.
Right.
And then the other thing too is like with that league, just from a mental standpoint, I can remember as a hitter, like, you'd go 2 for 3, 2 for 4, 3 for 4 throughout the season and then you get into the tournament and you'd go 1 for 3, 1 for 4, and you're starting to question yourself. And I think with playing in that league, I don't think that happens as much, just because and he mentioned just the tournament environment against what was Southwestern last Friday. Like those guys are in those moments more often than a lot of schools are.
Yeah, and that can make a big time difference. And now we're going to be joined on the Edward Jones Coaches Hotline by Coach Odie Estep from Symmes Valley. How you doing tonight, Coach?
I'm doing fine, sir. Thank you.
We appreciate you coming on with us, Coach Estep, and you guys are off to an outstanding start on the season, 16-2. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 16-2, and two of those losses coming because you guys don't take your non-league schedule lightly. Just when you have the event like the Thunder in the Valley, how much work is put in to make sure you guys are getting quality opponents? Because, you have every team that comes in there and plays is a high-caliber opponent.
Yes. Well, I kind of handpick who comes into the tournament every year because I don't want to get teams in there and run into games there that's mercy rules and something like that. So I do a lot of scouting and researching before I accept the teams to come in and make sure that we keep good quality teams coming into it. Because I wouldn't want to drive to Cleveland or Columbus and play a team and mercy roll them if I don't have to in a pickup tournament like we have. But yeah, well, I try to pick them out, and I try to pick up teams that I know it's going to give us a big challenge here and help us in the long run there as far as when tournament time rolls around.
Yeah, and it seems like just looking at some of the teams that came in, I mean, Kenton Ridge spent their first 2 weekends of the season down in Southeast Ohio, and I think that says all you need to know about how quality the softball is in our area. But for an area like where you guys are at in Willowwood, you guys have multiple Division I commits at this point. How much work are they putting in? How good is the Little League culture in your area as well to be able to give you guys the ability to where it feels like Symmes Valley is always reloading?
Well, I've tried to take care of our little league program throughout the years there and get involved with the younger kids, and I also incorporate our high school team in with the younger teams of having camps and clinics and open the doors up to them in our winter workouts and weightlifting and that kind of stuff. So I've tried to incorporate everything, and I kind of handpick who coaches down in the little league part now. And our little league program, our junior high program, I try to keep a tight hold on that to keep everything going for the future of the high school. So I think that's why we've been so successful. Is just we've got great people involved from little league right on up through.
Coach, I know we've talked a little bit about the tournament, but what do you guys have coming up this week?
We've got Northwest coming in, the league game there. We've got Northwest coming in tomorrow, and then we'll travel to Portsmouth High School on Tuesday, and then Thursday we've got Ashland, Kentucky, another D1 school coming in, and at our place at 6 o'clock and playing, and then on Friday we've got Eastern Pike again for the second round in our league play.
Well, then that game, go ahead.
I said we got a big week cut out for us here. Four tough opponents here coming in this week for our schedule. So we'll step up to the plate and see if we can make things happen.
Yeah, and then you mentioned a tough week with Eastern Pike. Last week you guys beat them on Monday, 1-0. Brenna struck out 16 in that game and also scored the winning run. Marley was able to knock her in. Just how huge have those two been specifically to help your guys to this success so far this season?
Well, when you've got two kids like that in your program, it's lights out for those kids. Those kids have worked their tail ends off here to get to where they're at, and you can tell both of them's committed and signed with D1 schools. And that's huge for us. I mean, being in a small school and getting two athletes, one to commit already and one to have already signed. That's big for our school and our program. Then, we've got about three other kids there that's it's young. That I guarantee they're going to be signing some commits and signing to play on into the future of their college career.
Yeah, and then you mentioned those kids working with the youth and working through your programs and everything. That has to be huge. Like, I know growing up, going to camps that were run by our athletes, it just, you looked up to them so much. It has to be huge for those kids to look up to players like that are going to go on to the next level from a small school area.
Yes. Well, you take Marley and Brenna and Macy and a lot of those kids there. They've been coming around since they've been 8, 9 years old, coming in hitting with us and same as the rest of those kids there. They've just come in and commit to the program and good things happen when you have kids like we've got that's committed to the program and committed to the sport. So that's I credit all that. It seems like it was just yesterday that Marley and Brenna was walking in there about knee high to a grasshopper and say, "Let's hit, Coach."
Well, Coach, I know you won't do it, but you got to take a little bit of credit for that because of the fact of how open you are to the youth coming in and being a part of it and handpicking who's coaching where and doing what, and you're doing things the right way and you're reaping the benefit of it. That's hats off to you for that because obviously, that's a huge time commitment. And it's paying dividends. It's really cool to see, especially from a coaching perspective, to see other coaches doing it that way at a small school and having as much success as you have.
Absolutely. I've been very blessed to have great athletes and great parents there. Come through about 34 years of coaching here, and it's you can look back and see where all that's paid off. So I'm blessed with those things. I'll have to say that. Very few problems, very few issues over the years there with parents and players, and they buy into the program at a young age. Even the parents that when the kids come in, start at 7, 8, 9 years old, they buy into the program at that point and keep with it.
How many players, Coach, have you coached parents and then their kids? Is that number way up there by now?
Oh, yeah, that's way up there. I've even come to now coaching some grandkids.
Man, I didn't think I needed to add that in there, but you did it. You did that, not me.
I know. That's and then I can sit and tell stories about. Stories to tell about moms and tell about grandmas. There, I've just coached one grandkids, but yeah, like I said, I have been very, very, very blessed with what I've had here.
Well, it sounds like it's been a blessing for the entire community, both ways, to have you and your staff and your program, as well as the families of that area as well. So, Coach,
one other thing, I've been greatly blessed with a lot of great coaches. I really have over the years. I've not had a whole lot of different coaches, but the ones I've had have stuck with me. And starting out my career there early, had Chuck Renfro, his daughter came through the program, but he hung around and stuck with us for 16 years, and he was absolutely a blessing. He's a legend right out here with baseball and softball. So I was blessed to have him start me out at a young age and keep things rolling.
And it's always good to have solid people around and know people that you can trust and the community can trust as well. So, Coach,
absolutely,
we appreciate you coming on with us here on a Sunday night, and look forward to seeing how your team does throughout this week, and really look forward to seeing how your team does the rest of the season as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys.
Yep. Thank you, Coach.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you.
Well, one of the things I remember when I started coaching, I was coaching Mallory in the middle school soccer, and my dad was at a game and he saw a player that he had coached when he was little, and saw that I was coaching their son, and he was like, "Oh, that's kind of how much crazier is it when you get to that level?" Have you got there yet?
No, I just coached my first father-son duo, like Justin Langoff, and then Lakin Langoff, and then the second one I'll coach will be Gray Langoff.
Yeah.
So Lang's number one in that category. But it's just crazy. You start to think and you realize how long you've been coaching, and then it's hard to believe that much time has passed. Is what's probably the most the craziest thing. So it's just it's a neat thing. You can say like he said, I remember when stories you can say about their parents or whatever. But it's a neat thing, and I think that's one of the really cool things about sports.
Yes, I agree with that completely. So if you hang right with us, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have some more coaches here on the Haynes-Stoll Healthcare Coaches Call-In Show.
Since 1853, Tomlinson Insurance has been protecting families, farms, and businesses in our community. As an independent agency, we offer personalized coverage for your auto, home, farm, and business, plus health and life insurance too. And we proudly partner with Erie Insurance to give you peace of mind with reliable coverage at competitive rates. Tomlinson Insurance. Let our history be your future. Call us today at 740-773-4181 or visit us at tomlinsonins.com.
Experience the hometown Chevrolet difference. Check out our huge selection of Silverado trucks, Equinox SUVs, and the latest Chevy models. Priced to move and ready to hit the road today. Plus, with the Hometown Advantage, you get free oil changes for life and a 10-year, 150,000-mile limited powertrain warranty at no extra cost. That's real value and real peace of mind. Your Hometown Chevrolet is proud to be your trusted local dealer of new and pre-owned inventory, delivering unbeatable deals and top-notch service. Visit us today at 501 West Emmett Avenue in Waverly or start shopping online at yourhometownchevy.com.
This broadcast is brought to you in part by Willie and Son Trucking. Willie and Son Trucking has been a proud supporter of local student athletes, coaches, and athletic programs throughout its history. Be sure to look out for the Shack Athlete of the Week presented by Willie and Son Trucking each week at SOSAOhio.com.
Welcome back to the Haynesville Healthcare Coaches Call-In Show. Now joining us on the Edward Jones Coaches Hotline is Coach Kylon Crabtree from Portsmouth Clay. How you doing tonight, Coach? Coach, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. How you doing tonight, Coach?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
We're doing well. Just overall, it's been a nice start to the season for you guys so far. I know you've had a couple of really tight losses, but I think that says to the quality of what your guys' league is. Can you tell us a little bit about how your season's gone so far?
Yeah, speaking to a couple of those tight losses so far, I mean, kind of getting to our overall record being 8-3. Two of those losses, though, being to the first to Green. And we faced John Knapp, which everybody knows about him. We lost a 1-0 game to them, played them up at Green. Just a great baseball game. And then this past week we lost to Notre Dame in a 2-0 game where we faced Luke Cassidy, another great pitcher in our area and in our league as well.
Yeah, when you're facing those high quality arms, it has to really make sure your team is really locked in and focused. And sounds like defensively and pitching, you guys have played pretty well in those games.
We have. I think I'd have to really go back and look. I don't know that we committed an error in either of those games. Kind of unheard of. I don't know that I've had a team in my career where we went almost 2 weeks without making an error. So we're playing very sound, pitching very well, defensively making all the routine plays like every coach wants to, and really that's all you can ask. We're very young, so the bats are still kind of starting to wake up, and then when you face the quality of pitching like what we've seen with Knapp and Cassidy, it's going to be a challenge for some young hitters.
Coach, what's your approach when you're facing those guys with such young hitters? Are you wanting them to be aggressive early in the count? Are you maybe taking some pitches to see what it looks like? Maybe trying to bunt some and just see the ball hit the bat? What's your approach when you're facing such great pitching like that?
A little bit of all that, like you said, and I think that varies player by player.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely have a team approach when we go into games like that, but also individual approaches depending on what that particular player can do. So, yeah, we like seeing pitches I think an approach to have when facing guys like that is you kind of try to split the game into two halves. And that first half, you try to be as disciplined at the plate as you can be. You know, seeing a few extra pitches in that first half may be what it takes to, you know, wear a pitcher down to where you get an opportunity in the 6th or 7th inning to maybe not get his best stuff and get your opportunity there. Playing small ball is definitely something that we are able to do or try to do at times. And then basing that decision early on when you see how a pitcher may be throwing and how your hitters look at the plate.
So when you're facing a guy like that where maybe it's going to take 1 or 2 runs, you guys are playing well defensively, and 1 or 2 runs to do it, how much do you value just being aggressive on the bases as well in those situations?
You know, it's funny you ask that. I mean, early on, I go to the Green game when we faced Knapp the first time, and early on we had a couple base runners on, and we were a little more cautious to kind of see how things would go and kind of give our hitters an opportunity to see if we can. And we tried to maneuver a couple guys or move guys over with a bunt and was unsuccessful a time or two. And then we translated that into later, and I believe it was the 6th inning. We got one on, and we had to become a little more aggressive where we were down 1-0. And they threw us out at second base. They made a great play. So you kind of balance where you feel you are in the game and then go from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a smart thing to do. And then obviously the next time through, you know what you learn basically from the past, and if you have an adjustment to make, you make it. So, I mean, pitching is everything.
You get very few opportunities for sure.
Right, and you gotta, you just gotta do what you think's right and live with the results. And I don't think you can second guess yourself then, because if you don't do anything, and then you never know. And you said you got caught stealing. Well, if you don't, it's a great call, and maybe that guy scores. But it's just baseball is such a funny game, and pitching is so dominant. When pitching is dominant, everything just becomes that much more magnified.
Yeah, and up to the point when we faced John there, I think his first 3 games, I don't think he had walked a guy. He still has yet to give up a run. So when you go into the game knowing those numbers and are like, wow, your opportunities are going to be very few and far between. So yeah, like you said, you live with the results. You put your best call forward, and ultimately it's up to still 16, 17, 18-year-old kids making plays, and that's what it's all about.
I think, and I've never coached varsity baseball. I played a lot of baseball, but I think the approach that I think I would take with that the next time is, no one expects us to. Heck, he's not even giving up a run yet, so no one expects us to do that. So the mindset maybe needs to just become relaxed, and whatever happens. You're playing basically with house money, and then once one kid gets a hit and it becomes contagious, then sometimes aces they have bad nights as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing the next time you guys face them to see what happens.
Well, we got about 21 hours in preparation for that because that happens tomorrow night.
Good.
So
perfect.
We're excited for that and looking forward to another good test. I believe, if I was guessing, I would assume John will be on the mound for them, and we'll be ready as well.
Well, just kind of looking at their numbers, it doesn't like obviously he's their best, but man, they just haven't really given up runs. But for you guys, when it comes to your team, just kind of looking at the numbers, it seems like Evan Ryder has kind of been above and beyond when it comes to offensively, and it seems like he's one of your better arms. Can you kind of talk about what his impact's been for you guys this season?
Yeah, Evan is definitely, even as a sophomore, he's definitely our ace on the mound. He's taken both of those tough losses, a 1-0 game at Green and 2-0 to Notre Dame, where he pitched every pitch in both of those games as well. He went toe to toe with both of those guys as a sophomore. So I can't brag on him enough when it comes to the competitor inside of him on the mound. And then at the plate, he's hitting leadoff for us. I think he's hitting 594 maybe. I mean, he's just really hitting well. And the biggest difference I've seen from freshman to sophomore year he's just become an overall great hitter. Like he's not just up there swinging anything. He's seeing so many more different pitches because everybody knows about him now. You know, they know how good he can be. So he's not just getting fastballs. You know, he's having to deal with every team, every pitcher's best stuff.
Yeah, and then when he's going against the other team's best pitcher, he's just going to be better and better on the mound as he gets older as well. Do you have any other kind of players who have been standouts for you so far? And just before we let you go here.
For sure. I mean, I could speak about so many of them. I mean, Noah Woods is a freshman behind the plate. He hits 2 hole for us. And, you know, it speaks to how young we are. We start 7 freshmen or sophomores every night.
And 8 and 3. That's pretty nice.
8 and 3, and you've gotten beat by 2 great pitchers by a combined total of 3 to nothing. So, like, it's coming. Be patient. No, obviously, your turn's going to be on the other end of that sooner than later.
For sure. You know, we start Evan at the top as a sophomore, and then our next 4 hitters in the lineup are freshmen. So at 2, 3, 4, and 5, you know, I could go Noah Woods, Jackson Hannon, Colby Seacrest, Bryce Whitley. They're right down the line, are hitting well. And I can't brag enough at the bottom of our order. Corey Williams has really been coming on strong here, and Cade Munyon in our lineup has really had some big hits here recently and coming on pretty strong right now.
Well, then you mentioned those young kids seeing an arm like Knapp, a Cassidy as well. I mean, it's, you know, no matter what level of travel ball you play coming up as you get older, you see those more often. You don't see a whole lot of 6'5", you know, mid-80s fastballs with a really nice breaking ball coming at you early in your career. They're just going to get better and better, and I'm really excited to see how you guys do the rest of the season as well.
They definitely are, and we're looking forward to the challenges that come. And you know, our week this week is, you know, it's a brutal week. I mean, if I anticipate facing Knapp tomorrow night, we play Northwest on Tuesday, who I know is having a pretty good season, and then New Boston is Wednesday, but then Notre Dame comes right back to us on Friday. So there's a good chance we see Cassidy again this week as well. So the week it's a challenging week.
But that's just going to make you better and better. Looking forward to seeing how your guys face that challenge and deal with that adversity coming on head on. So, Coach, we appreciate you coming on with us and really excited to track how your team does the rest of this year, but also the next 2 or 3 seasons as well.
Well, I appreciate that and appreciate what you guys do and getting our kids' names out there. But thank you guys.
Yep. Thank you, Coach. Good luck.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you.
I think we've kind of talked about it, you know, through basketball as well. When you're at a small school, sometimes you have those.
That's all you have sometimes.
Yeah.
You can't control the number of male athletes that you have per class. You just can't. And, you know, I almost fell out of the chair when he said 2, 3, 4, 5 are all freshmen. Like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, and you're only losing 1-0, 2-0. Like, these kids obviously are good baseball players, and I almost felt sorry for him at first, but then I was like, nah, this is going to turn around really quick, and he's 8-3 already. So, like,
yeah, you take that.
Really good baseball down there.
Oh, yeah, you take that in a hurry. So now joining us on the Edward Jones Coaches Hotline is Coach Evan Ferguson from Adena. How you doing tonight, Coach?
Doing well, John. How are you?
Oh, we're doing outstanding. Appreciate you coming on with us, Coach. It's been a kind of interesting season for you guys to start off, because at the beginning it looked like things were going to go kind of rough, and you guys turned things around pretty quickly to sit in second right now in the SVC. How have you guys been able to do that so far?
Oh, just a lot of buying in. Early on, you know, in the season, the schedule was kind of a bear. I think initially we had 6 games in 6 days, and I believe all of them were bigger schools. Gallia, Miami Trace, even Lynchburg, who I think sitting 3rd in the state in D5 right now. It was a lot of punching up to start the year, but just competing and seeing that we kind of belonged in those moments. The walk-off win at Gallia was a huge moment for us to just build a little momentum. And then getting into league play finally and getting a tough win over Zane Trace, who I believe is sitting alone in first place now. It was just a lot of, just buying in. The kids have done a great job of believing in us as a staff and just believing in themselves. That's been the biggest thing is, we belong in the top half of this league. Not only do we think it, we're starting to show it on the field.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned it. You guys sitting in second, and is everybody in second but Zane Trace? I mean, I swear, this is the most like such and such team will beat this team, then the other team, then someone else will beat. Like everyone's something in 2, and Zane Trace is something in 1, and you're the one that put the 1 there. So I was able to watch a little bit of the game Friday, Coach, and it was nothing. I think till the third, and then it was 3-1, 3-0, 3-2, something like that, and then it kind of got away late. But I just felt like Garrison was pitching. I just felt like he had command most of the night, was able to keep Uniota's hitters off balance, and just first time I got to see you guys, and I just was really impressed with what you guys were doing.
I appreciate that. Colton Garrison's as good as it gets, not only on the mound, but defensively at the plate. I think he's swinging around 400. Has been hitting in the 3-hole. He is as talented as there is in this league, and not just as a baseball player. He's great on the basketball court, great on the football field, and we have quite a few athletes who can support him. Friday we started off well, and I liked where we were early. Just a bounce of a ball, a break going this way, a call going that way.
I wasn't going to mention it, Coach. I wasn't going to mention it. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's okay, and it's a part of the game.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a lesson for us, and not just the boys, but us as a staff. We have to focus on the things we can't control, and just coach around it. It's a learning moment for us. Now we've been there. We played a few innings with Uniota, who is the biggest and, oftentimes the best team in our league. I think it was good for us. It was humbling, and sometimes you need humbled. But as we make this turn in the league, next time we see them, we'll have been there a little bit.
Yeah, I made the comment, Coach, after the one call didn't go your way or something, and Coach Taylor went out to question it, and then you can tell that he's coached for forever because he didn't get the answer that he wanted, so he went to the home plate umpire and got a better answer. And as you were walking off, someone said, who I was sitting by, said, their coach isn't very old, is he? And I said, listen, that jacket that Tony Taylor's wearing is older than him. I guarantee it. But anyway, I can't say enough how impressed I was with your guys. And we mentioned Colton pitching, but I think he had 3 hits that night as well. And just how hard you guys competed. You didn't get the call. The call didn't go your way, but you guys, you didn't lay down. And I think you scored a run maybe the next inning, and you just kept fighting, and just really impressed with it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And it is a testament to our kids. And, not just our kids. Our kids have wonderful parents. Like, we have a pretty good support system out here. Our boosters are great. It's one of those things where there is such a buy-in, and compete's the word. Like, you hit it right on the head. It's everything we're yelling at them. It's everything we're preaching at them. It's everything we're begging them to do. Is whatever we're doing, we're competing, whether it's the classroom, it's in practice taking ground ball, it's on the field against St. Trace and Unioto. We are just trying to compete, and good things will come from that. And this group has bought into that. Like I said, buy-in is everything. This group lifts twice a week. This group has bought into, some changes in the off-season program, buying into new stuff in our throwing program that we introduced, and it all being totally new to them. But they met me in October and November, and, to already be in this place and building this foundation is a testament to the kids we have and the support system our kids have. I am very, very thankful for them.
Coach, do you guys have your own field now? Are you guys...
We do.
Okay.
We have our own field.
How is that?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. The Tillians built it for us. We consulted out. And thank you to our administration. I wasn't there yet.
Right.
But our school board and our administration for making that happen for our kids. It is a beautiful field. It's up above the gymnasium there, next to softball. It's not quite what Coach Jadwin has built over at the softball field, but we're starting on it.
You'll get there.
It's brand new automatic irrigation system, you name it. They got it for us, and we are very fortunate.
Yeah, I look forward to being able to get out there and watch a game there, because I saw it as it was getting built, and I'm like, that is so much further along than it was at the previous site. And now that you're at a place where you're with softball every night, I think it just feels like more of just what you want out of the spring program. You love when the fields are where people can go watch both teams, because softball usually gets done quicker.
Yeah.
And that way everyone can support everyone in a way that doesn't typically happen in the spring.
Well, and the other thing, too, is especially like at Adena with two really good programs, people are going to be out, especially when the weather's nice. You're going to watch softball, you're going to watch baseball, and it's important to have, we always talk about kids having memories and things like that, and people being at the games is important, and that's what you remember. And, having to have that rough year, obviously you weren't there last year, Coach, but they didn't have a home field. I just felt really bad for those seniors and even the younger kids, because they had a year where they didn't get to play on a home field, which, hats off to Adena for making that happen quicker than maybe it was going to.
No, there's a lot to it. Having a field of your own, somewhere, to hang your hat, and there's, some of the things that we're doing on the field are because of things, the discipline of, hey, we have to take care of this field. We're going to learn how to build mounds. We're going to learn how to, rake, to drag this field, to keep it pretty. It's another tool for our kids, to kind of sharpen who they are as, student athletes. In a weird way, having a home, how do we build this foundation without a home?
Right.
I guess is really it. And to be so fortunate to have something brand new is, it's part of why I jumped at this opportunity when it was presented to me.
That and the convenience of being able to walk out of your building and go to practice. You know what I mean? Not have to drive.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad. Now, if we had a little bit of that voodoo that they had down on that field at Bostick, if we could get a little bit of that at the new place, I would be a happy man.
Well, I think that the longer you guys are there, the more buy-in you guys have with your
those warrior spirits will travel up there. They'll figure it out.
They just got to get back. They had a year off. Now they're going to get back up there on the hill.
we got to create it ourselves.
Yeah. So Coach, we everyone really knows about Colton with what he's been able to do. Can you talk about some of your other guys real quick before we let you go?
Oh, of course. I can kind of take you around, through the roster pretty quickly. And behind the plate this year has been huge for us is Gavin Harold. He's, first time playing high school baseball. He's a sophomore. Most people know him from basketball, but he's been tremendous behind the plate. He gets better every time he's behind the plate, and he swings a great bat. He's a guy who's hard to throw a fastball by, and a great kid. Corbin Timpson at first base is another sophomore who came out this year, didn't play last year due to injury, has a great game, is starting to really develop on the mound for us as well. Next to him is another sophomore, Aiden Taparsian. Aiden actually played last year, started every game, but is in the lineup swinging a bat for himself, and had the big game winner at Gallia for it, has immediately, benefited our lineup. Fisher Shelf has probably been the nicest surprise for us. He's a career outfielder who we turned into a shortstop, and we saw it immediately. Such a phenomenal athlete. People may know him from football, and if you don't, you will this year. He is a very, very good receiver, defensive back. But, just getting Fisher to believe he's a shortstop, and not only is he a shortstop, he's hitting 454s or something like that. It's been great to see him grow. Hudson Bush is a sophomore at third base. He's a kid who broke his arm 2 years ago, and we kind of had to reteach him how to throw, and now he's making plays across the diamond, swinging a good bat. Cameron Stoops in the outfield, a senior, hit a big home run for us the other night. He's our number 2 on the mound. A great senior, a great leader, and a good kid. Grant Rawlings coming out for the first time since, I think, B-ball, 5th or 6th grade.
Former Eagle.
Starting in left field for us. Another senior and just a wonderful kid. It's been very, very fun. Justin Brown's another senior for us. He's coming off an injury. He'll play a bigger role this second half of the season, once he can play a defensive position. Chance Mosser's another senior who plays a lot of defense, does a lot of running for us, a great kid. Xavier Cunningham, our center fielder's a little lefty who's a menace. I could go through I nearly did go through all 15. They're wonderful. We have 3 sophomores, 3 freshmen who are great and going to be great in a few years. It's an exciting time to be an Adena Warrior.
It sure sounds like it, Coach, and they've got the right guy there. Your energy since watching and coaching against you is infectious, and I know there's going to be a lot of great things in Frankfort for as long as you and your staff are in place. And I did want to say one thing real quick. You mentioned the support. There is no other support system as good as the Adena Athletic Boosters online.
Oh, man.
Like, if I've ever had a question about anything dealing with Adena athletics, you just go there. They post like 5 like throwback things a week.
Yeah, that's really cool to see.
Yeah, it's
that's
awesome.
really cool to see.
It's awesome that you guys have that.
It's not only, has it been fun and the support and all that stuff, it's been a great history lesson. And they have a tremendous history out there. Like Frankfurt is a wonderful, unique place. It is it's been very fun, they've been very welcoming. The boosters, like not only just the boosters, but people in the community, local businesses, you name it. It's a one-of-one place, and I'm very thankful to have gotten this opportunity.
Yep, it's a great place. It's just awesome. It's a small town. Now that they've got your baseball field, it looks like they're redoing every sidewalk in Frankfurt. So that'd be the next project to get a clean up down out there. But yeah, Coach, like I said, I saw you play. You guys played 4 or 5 innings the other night, and you're doing it the right way. Keep it up, and best of luck. And we'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Good luck, Coach. I might have misspoke on Grant. I think Grant might have played for Adena Little League. His brother played for the Eagles, but anyway.
Well, no matter what, I just remember when we'd face the Adena Little League, and in Little League, it was never a fun night. Like, it was always a really well-coached team.
I'm older than you, so Adena Little League back then was split into Frankfurt and Clarksburg, so I don't think they were as
dominant as they were.
Because they were cut in half. But again, it led to great high school programs because more kids got to play. You know what I mean?
Hey, when I was my last year,
you wearing an Adena sweatshirt?
No, it's the First Switch Classic.
All right.
Yeah. It's,
okay. Sorry.
So no, I'm not yet. But no, it's the the SEC Player of the Year was an Adena kid, but he actually played across the street from me. Would have played for Norfolk, but he ended up didn't play for Adena. Yeah. So just one of the things, like I mentioned. Watching Coach Ferguson when he played, I'm not surprised that he would bring just a really positive energy.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've said it twice now. I got to the Unioto baseball game against Adena. It was the 3rd inning, I think. Kids played hard, ran on and off. I mean, I'm not looking at for a lot, but running on and off the field, like that's a little thing. But man, does that go a long way?
Yeah.
The communication between the players. On the field, you mentioned the catcher did a nice job. Colton was throwing well. It was a good high school baseball game. Like I said, I left. I don't know. It was 9-3. It ended, but when I was there, it was 3-1, 4-1. It was a good game, and like we mentioned, they've given Zane Trace their only league loss. So.
Yeah, it's been really impressive turnaround so far, and especially if you just saw their scores early in the season to what it is now. So,
okay, you both there?
Yeah, I think we're about to have
first, right? This will be a first.
Yeah, it's just this is why we appreciate Christian at this point. So now joining us on the Edward Jones Coaches Hotline are coaches Scott Burke and Ryan. Is it Grice or Grice?
No, Grice.
Grice from Fairfield Union. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good, John. Thank you. Good. I'm doing well.
We appreciate you guys coming on. A 10-2 start now for Fairfield Union. You guys started off 0-2, have won 10 straight games. Offensively, it seems like you guys are led by a trio of like an Ashton Waldrop, Brady Andrews, and Garrett Dilcher. Can you guys talk about what those three have been able to do to kind of spark your offense?
They are the heart of the lineup. Ashton leads us off, and Garrett Dilcher is hitting the 2 and the 3, and Brady has been our 4-hole hitter. We had to play around with the lineup a little bit. try and set the table a little bit for Brady and for Garrett, and it's worked out well.
Well, then obviously, just looking at your scores too, your pitching has been unbelievable this year, and Coach Grice, that's one of the big reasons why you're on with us as well. Even those first 2 losses, you guys were holding really good programs down. Can you just talk about what your pitching's been like so far this season?
Yeah, they've done honestly, they've done an excellent job of executing our philosophy. I mean, we want to get ahead with, our 1A, our 1B pitches. And those pitches usually for high school kids are going to be their fastball, breaking balls. We concentrate more on sliders, cutters, more so than the breaking ball, but we want to get ahead with those 2 pitches. We want to dominate the top half and the inside half of with fastballs, and then dominate low and away with, we basically talk about 2 plain breaking balls, which is our cutters, our sliders, which are going to work away and down to hitters. But we want to work up in the zone early, especially, getting ahead with, like I said, the 1A, 1B count, and then dominating the top half of the strike zone as well as the inside half, and then working away with the breaking balls. And those guys have executed it, every game. And then Brady, our catcher, has done a great job with calling all of his games. So the execution has been outstanding with what we've talked about with our philosophy early on.
Yeah, and so one of the things we've talked about, whether it's been on overtime or it's been here on the Coach's Call-In Show, is the importance of the catcher. With Brady being a senior, how huge is his kind of buy-in to being an elite defender while also being able to be a big bat in the middle of the order? How good has he been so far for you guys?
You want to take this, Coach?
Yeah. Honestly, Brady has executed our pitching philosophy. We went in thinking that we were going to call pitches, and I wanted to give. I honestly don't like calling pitches. I want the pace of the game to be fast.
Yep.
And I think when I start calling, or any coach starts calling, I think it slows things down too much. So I want my catchers to be able to call the game. So we have a specific philosophy, and I think I hit on it earlier, where we want to get ahead early. Obviously, we want to be 65, 70% strikes on our first pitches. And then from there, we want to work. Not only do we want to throw strikes and be 65% strikes, but we want to also, dominate competitive pitches. And Brady calling pitches, he understands the philosophy that we want to apply, and how we want to attack hitters. So that's the important part, is him calling pitches and being able to. Now we obviously communicate throughout the game, but he does an outstanding job of commanding the strike zone as far as his, receiving techniques, and then also being able to communicate with pitchers and calling just, a masterful game at times.
Well, I feel like it's almost a lost art. And also, I know I don't control the scheduling at the VA, but as someone who works in a school, I would love if you guys played every one of our night games there, because it sounds like you guys play at a really efficient style as well. So can you just talk about how much of kind of a lost art it is to have the catcher that can call the game the way that he's able to do so for you guys?
Coach, you want me to take this again?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Honestly, it is. And my philosophy is, I want to be, you got to teach kids how to call games. You got to teach kids how to understand what to do. And like I said, and when you give them a specific philosophy on how to attack things, then it's easier to call pitches because they understand how to do it. And it's got to be executed as well. So once you're calling pitches, it becomes really fun, because once you start executing what you want to execute, then you just follow the certain philosophy. Like I said, getting ahead early, then dominating high. And at the high school level, this is a college thing we brought from the college level, to be able to command the top half of the zone. Most high school hitters aren't going to be able to handle that. So once you start showing that, once you start changing body postures by throwing to the inside half, and then, changing eye levels. And that's what Brady's understands so well, is how to set things up. We want to think 2 pitches ahead. And so me and him, when we communicate, it's more eye contact than anything else. And it's thinking 2 pitches ahead, changing eye levels, changing body posture, and then working away from that to get the strikeout or, get a key ground ball whenever you need to.
Don't you think too, Coach, that first of all, the type of player that typically plays catcher, that is something that's probably already kind of built into their DNA in terms of, obviously you guys do a great job of communicating and establishing your expectations or rules or what you want. But I think most of the time, And really good for really good catchers, this is something that's probably going to come natural to them. And then when they get coaching like you guys give these guys, then it becomes elite, in my opinion.
Well, I'm going to jump in here, Coach. Brady is that kind of kid you're talking about. He's a 3-year player. He's a football player. He's a dirt ball. I mean, he's dirty from the time he shows up to practice to the. We get on him all the time about showering and cleaning that uniform up. And
no,
but,
you've painted the picture that I had in my head. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, he is a blue collar kid from the word go. And as Coach Grice described, I mean, he has soaked everything in that Ryan has brought from the college level. And, we're not the ball club without him.
Yeah, and it sounds like you guys have been off to an outstanding start on the season. Can you talk about some of the other guys that have really been able to step up for you guys beyond just what Brady's been able to do for you guys?
Sure. We have 5 seniors this year. We talked a little bit about Ashton Waldrop. He's our leadoff guy, leading an average right now. I think he scored 17 runs so far in our season. Garrett Dilcher is a senior, Wittenberg commit. Ashton's going to West Virginia State. Brady's going to go to Indiana University Kokomo. My son, Alex Burke, is our first baseman. He's done a solid job for us at first base for the last 2 years, and his hitting's been good this year. We have Braxton Rolls, our final senior. He's playing right field for us. Another kid that has kind of put his time in, waited his turn, and taken advantage of his senior year.
Yeah, and that's really all you can ask for as a coach. And when you start naming off, those top 3 hitters going to play at the next level, and then thinking about, just what I've seen from IU Kokomo over at the River States Conference, Brady's going to get some really good coaching and is going to continue to have some success there. But also having 5 seniors that play a role really well, that says a lot, especially when you play in such a big or tough conference as you guys do in the MSL Buckeye.
It's huge. As you know, our conference is really tough. No days off. They can all swing. They have good coaching throughout the league. And to have these 5 that have been in the system for 3 years now, and then 2 years with Coach Grice, bringing his wealth of knowledge, we've really kind of started putting it together and taking it to the next level.
Coach, what's this week look like for you guys?
It's a tough one. We have Hamilton Township tomorrow, Amanda Clear Creek on Wednesday, and then we have probably a league championship game with Bloom on Thursday.
Yeah, and you do. As someone who's seen Amanda 3 times, and I know that they've put up the most runs against you guys so far this year. If you're at home and you're just looking at the Amanda's record, do not do that, because that's a very talented team as well, or Hamilton Township and Bloom Carroll as well.
We know firsthand. I mean, the first round against Amanda, they smacked us right in the face. 4 doubles, I think, to start the game.
Oh my!
And able to circle the wagons a little bit and play solid from the first inning on and come back and win.
Yeah, that is a very exciting team to watch as well. So, coaches, we appreciate you guys coming on. I feel like just from talking to you guys, it's the way you guys balance things is why the Fairfield Union program is in the position that it's in now, after a few years where it seemed like it was on its way up, but it feels like it's there now, and I'm really excited to see you guys and how you guys continue to grow throughout the rest of the season.
Well, hey, we appreciate the recognition and what you guys do for Southeast Ohio. We're on the north end of it, but appreciate everything you do.
Well, we appreciate you guys, and best of luck to you this week and the rest of the season as well.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Good luck,
Thank
guys.
you.
I think it's awesome that he allows the
Yeah.
catcher to call it. I mean, they're in the game. They're the ones out there. I'm not saying that coaches shouldn't call pitches, but I think
when you can trust your catcher,
Yep.
you should let them.
Yep, I agree. And
Well, it sounds like they have a lot of game planning together, and
yeah, a lot of conversation prior to the game, probably a scouting report on hitters and things like that. But man, you just get a feel for it. I caught a lot growing up, but not a whole lot in high school. But when I did get to catch in high school, thankfully my coaches did allow me to call it, and I just felt like that was probably one of the things that was most fun about catching was, setting hitters up and being on the same page with your pitcher and really locked into the game that way.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And now joining us, our final coach of the night on the Edward Jones Coaches Hotline is Coach Tom Barr from Chillicothe. Thanks for hanging with us, Coach. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great, guys. How you guys doing?
We're doing well, and we just talked to two coaches from Fairfield Union with a 3-year starter at catcher, and now you are at a fresh start at catcher after your son did an outstanding job for you guys for so many years. How have you guys adjusted to that so far this year? A very young team with a young backstop as you guys have.
Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, I was a catcher, so I'm probably a little bit. My opinion's probably a little jaded, but I feel like a catcher is the most important position on the field. And like you said, we were fortunate. We struggled a few of those years to get a catcher out of TJ, but he did come along, and I think the way we've dealt with it, I guess to answer your question, John, is we started doing catcher workouts twice a week. Coach John Maxon and I have a new coach, Wyatt, also is that helping with catchers. So our catchers, they get a lot of coaching, and they all three of us are very opinionated, and I think we're getting there. We're not there. We're not where we need to be, but I think we've seen the competition's made our catchers better, and we're improving there, and we still have to improve there, but we're seeing some positive steps, and that group's working hard for us, but we still have some ways to go there.
Well, and then as you said, with you being a catcher and you're finding some ways, it takes a different type of cat to be a catcher as well, and I think it's something that if you're going to be great at it, you have to put in the time, and it sounds like there's a lot of resources available if they want to be a great catcher at Chillicothe.
Yeah, if they want to get better, I think they certainly have those opportunities. And I'll not only say I think it's the most important position on the baseball field, and at Chillicothe, it's the most criticized, right? I mean, we have 3 former catchers that are riding these guys and providing them with a lot of feedback, and I think it's not easy to be a catcher for us. And our guys, we got a couple guys that are really fighting for that starting job, and we'll see. I know we're a third of the way through the season, but as far as where we're going to be later and who's going to be our starter, we have several positions where that's to be determined yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds like catchers. I mean, especially your dad was the coach, and then you're already tough on the catcher. And then if this is the same John Maxon that I played Little League baseball with, let me tell you something. He used to bruise my hand when he pitched. I don't even know. Are we still allowed to call it the tools of ignorance, the catching position? Like, is that still?
We do at Chillicothe.
Okay.
I don't know if that's coach or Matt anywhere else, but
I don't know I just didn't know if that was still allowed. With the what
it's
you can
probably not anywhere but Chillicothe.
What you can and you can't say anymore. But anyway, no, I agree with you 100%, Coach. And I'm kind of glad that we're on this topic in terms of catching, because I think if you look at, you guys mentioned 3 different guys. If you have consistency behind the plate, typically your team's consistent. If you have inexperience and you're not consistent, then you're up and down. You win some, you lose some. And a lot of that is because behind the plate, if you can't control the game, if you can't stop people from taking extra bases, stealing, blocking pitches in the dirt and things like that, man, it's just so critical to everything that goes into the game besides hitting and pitching. And I just think, you made a great point. I'm with you in terms of thinking the catcher is the most important position on the field.
Yeah, and it is, Matt, it is the same John Maxson that you played Little League Baseball. And he
Golly.
He's walking around on a bum knee now, and he's just as fiery as ever. We embrace that position. I mean, I think, like you said, we've seen 2 or 3 arms this year that are really, really good. But if you don't have a catcher, doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Because you still got to catch the ball, and you got to keep runners honest. And again, as a former catcher, and we talked to our pitchers a lot about this. Because I think the blame instantly goes, well, that's, they stole the catcher. And, that's, oftentimes that's not true. And,
right.
Just like our pitchers, we've been harping on them. You guys have to do a better job, slide stepping, stepping off. We have a play, just a throw over play where we're not trying to get them out. We're just, hey, we remember you're here because we don't want you to get too comfortable. So, they have to do some things to help us. And I think at times our pitching staff has not done well. And I think we're getting better there. So, and that's helping with the catching, of course, too.
Well, and then, you kind of mentioned that you guys are a young team, but one of the things, one of the really cool things for me being out at the VA is, we see you guys play a lot, and we can see the growth that your team's had throughout the year. But I wanted to highlight a couple of your older players first. I've been really impressed with what Tay Harris has been able to do, with the bat. But also, it felt like in that Western Brown game, his defense was ultimately the difference in that game for you guys at third base. And that's another position, maybe because I played it, but it's a position that I feel is maybe undervalued at times because it feels like it's just kind of a spot for a big hitter. But, man, somebody like Tay can really do it on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, he was a difference maker. He's been a difference maker for us all year. And like you said, that Western Brown game in particular, he showed off the hose, right? There's not many kids in our area that has that arm. And he's athletic, and he's a football player, quarterback on the football team. So a very athletic kid. He's been on an absolute tear for us at the plate. I think he's batting like 480 or something. So he's really coming along for us as a junior. Throws innings for us. So he's been a really critical part. And like you said, we are a very inexperienced group. This year we lost 5 guys, the seniors last year, that played every day. I think 3 or 4 of those guys all of them were either 3-year or 4-year starters. So, we lost, some guys like Mason Brown and, some guys like that are hard to replace. And then we had a couple guys that decided not to play baseball their senior year, guys that had previously started for us. So I think we're just really, really super, we're inexperienced. And, we keep talking to our guys about, let's get a little bit better every day. Ultimately in high school, I think it's a little different in summer, but it's really kind of the same where the tournament's what you're really working for, right? And I think with us, we just need to keep working, get ready for May. We've struggled with inconsistency. We need to improve there. Our group, and I've tried to help them understand that, we don't have a lot of room for error here. We have to do all the little things if we want to be successful. And I think some days I think they buy in, and then other days maybe not so much. I know my brother Tim, he's like, man, you look like it's a really gritty group. And some days I'm ready to agree with him. And then I feel like, to be blunt, we've had some games where I felt like we just kind of rolled over and died. And we just can't have that. We got to get better there.
Yeah, that's a fine line there. You mentioned it. You be ready for May, but these games that you're playing now, they matter too. And getting ready for May doesn't mean that we don't care about the results that are happening right now. And win or lose, hopefully you're learning. If you've lost, you've learning. Even if you've won, what did it take to win this game? Maybe that we didn't win the first time through or something like that. But it's just baseball is a very, how do I want to say it, quick but long process season, I guess you would say.
It's definitely a marathon, Matt. Definitely a marathon, and and I think that's what I always tell our coaches and other young coaches is you don't want to get too high and you don't want to get too low because it's a roller coaster, right? And and emotionally you have to be there. Every game's important, like you said, Matt. And we've had games where I felt like we played really, really well, lost. An example of that's the Zane Trace game. I mean, I felt like our team played really well. I mean, the Manson kid was throwing BBs, and we hadn't seen anything like that from the right hand side. So it was it was tough on those guys, and we adjusted and we kept fighting, and we played a really good game. And we had a couple mistakes and gave up a few runs, but that early in the season, I was really happy. And then we've had other games where we've won, and I've kind of been miserable after the game because we didn't play well at all. But sometimes the ball bounces funny, and I feel like there's games where and you guys have seen this, where everything you hit is right at somebody, and everything they hit is a bloop where somebody's not at. They're seeing ice angles or whatever. So baseball is weird, but I feel like the harder you work, the more those things are gonna go in your favor.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and we look forward to. I know we see you on Friday out at the VA with Peebles, but can you just talk about how easy your league is, because you get a couple of really easy ones to start this week with Miami Trace.
Yeah. I mean, FAC is a pushover, right? So, no, FAC is good, right?
Yeah,
they're good every year. It's a cakewalk for sure. But no, Miami Trace, I think year in, year out, they get as much talent on the baseball team as anybody in our area, in our league. I think everybody was, especially from the outside, looking at Jackson, thinking, finally some of these guys graduated. But Coach McGraw's a great coach. They reload down at Jackson. They're really, really good again. I think middle of the pack guys, their teams like McLean's got more talent than they've had in several years. Hillsboro's really, really talented. I mean, they didn't lose anything from last year's team. Courthouse, I think Courthouse was kind of like us. People, there's a few guys maybe back that people knew, but a lot of people, really doesn't follow it closely. You're thinking, Chillicothe didn't have anything, and Courthouse doesn't have much. But I think if you take a night off, if you overlook a league opponent in the FAC, you're going to smack yourself later. There's no. I mean, for us, we're not throwing off. We have to throw our best. And I think in all reality, we're towards the bottom as far as overall talent, just being objective. But with that being said, I think if you talk to Coach McGraw, he's going to probably tell you the same thing. We're not throwing off against anybody. We knocked off Miami Trace once last year. We've knocked off Jackson a couple years ago. So it's a very competitive league. And again, I think the middle of the pack is even more talented than what we've seen in maybe since I joined Chillicothe 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. Just because we've seen, I believe we've had all 6 teams out at the VA, and to me the depth of the league is probably the best that it has been, and that's what makes it a really fun league to follow. And as you said, there's a lot of talent on those fields, and really well coached groups as well, and that's what makes it such a tough league. So, Coach, we appreciate you coming on with us, tonight, and we look forward to seeing how your team does this week. And I'll be able to talk to you in person on Friday, so looking forward to that. And we appreciate having you on.
That sounds great, John, Matt. We appreciate you guys, everything you do for us, and John, I'm looking forward to Friday.
Yep, sounds good, Coach.
Best of luck, Coach.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Matt.
Yep.
See you guys later.
See you, Coach.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that in that league, you got to be tightened up at every position. And when you're working in a new catcher, it can be pretty tough.
It is. And I want you to think about this. How many times do we say, oh, your league's tough, or your league?
Yeah.
Is there a league in the Southeast District where you just say, oh, it's terrible?
No.
I don't think so. Baseball down here is it's consistently the best. I think of all of the sports, baseball is probably leagues are as competitive in baseball maybe than some other sports.
That's where volleyball in the fall, I would say it would be very similar in that. But also softball is no pushover here. We had a couple state champions last year, but the depth, I think,
that's the right word. That's what I was
yeah.
trying to say. The depth of every conference is really good. And baseball is such a funny game to where, like Coach just said, you can be hitting it, squaring it up, but it's going right to them, and you lose the game. It's a tough game, and but we have a lot of really good players and a lot of really good coaches in this area that make the springtime around here really interesting.
Well, and then I just want to throw the thing out. With when we talked to Coach Moore earlier, he said how they were going to have the opportunity to go play a really good team. Well, in that showcase it was the Prep Baseball Ohio showcase over at the VA. It was scheduled to have Ironton, Portsmouth, Wheelersburg playing 3 programs that are in the top 3 of their respective divisions. So you're taking 3 really good programs from the Southeast and you're putting them against the state's best.
Right.
And they do that because they know our teams in our area can compete at that level. So this is one of the reasons why we like doing this show, get to hear from a lot of different coaches and get to hear from a lot of different kind of philosophies as well.
Right.
I had fun this episode.
Yeah, and we heard from some coaches that maybe not a lot of people know about, especially like up this way. But it's always always leave here with something that I've learned maybe from a coach or how they run their program, things like that. I just think it's really neat to be able to talk to these guys and kind of get their philosophy and their opinions on things, and there's a reason why their teams and their programs are really good.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there. If Coach Grice is a teacher and he's not working at Fairfield Union, they got to get him a job ASAP, because I was very impressed with
everything he said made sense, but it wasn't complicated.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yes, I agree completely. So that'll be it for this week. As we said, we'll have Piketon softball in here next week to start the episode. Possibly a couple more guests in there as well. We got at least the next 2 weeks here on the Haynes-Soil Healthcare Coaches Call-In show, and then we'll kind of reconvene and play it by ear at that point. But we appreciate everything our producer Christian Spradlin was able to do this week to help us with the show. Kind of going above and beyond to help, especially when I'm running those middle school games over at the VA, and made it a little bit easier and a little stress-free for me. Coach Hoops, we know that you were busy on the night and were able to get over here and help us out and give us another really good show. And we appreciate everyone that is tuned in, whether you are tuning in live or when you're watching it later watching back. We appreciate anyone watching as well. Remember to check out SOSA Overtime presented by Perfection One. That'll come out Monday at 8 with me and Shane Combs. Have a lot of good talks coming up in this week's episode. And then we will have 3 live streams for baseball this week from VA Memorial Stadium. It'll be Wednesday at 5 will be White Oak against Symmes Valley. On Friday, we'll have Menford against Manchester early, and then the late game will be Chillicothe against Peebles under the lights over at VA Memorial Stadium. So going to be some really good weather this week. Get out and support your local baseball, softball, track as well, and lacrosse as well, and tennis, boys tennis. So get out and support your local athletes. So it should just be a really good week.
Yep.
You got anything else, Coach?
That's it.
All right. For our producer, Christian Spradlin, for Coach Matt Hoops, I'm John Bruce. You've been watching the Haynes-Soil Healthcare Coaches Call-In show. Have a great rest of your week.